Welcome to the virtual college exploration for all North and South Carolina students, sponsored by the Carolinas Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers and StriveScan. We appreciate you joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenter at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the full schedule at CACRAO.org. That's CACRAO.org. This presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at that same website, CACRAO.org. I'd now like to turn it over to our presenter.
Hello, everyone. I'm Casey Crisp, and I am with the University of Alabama at Birmingham. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that this is helpful to you guys, and I'll make sure to include my information at the end if there are other follow-up questions, but please feel free to put any questions in the Q&A below, and I'll address those as we go. So to start with, just to give you a little bit of an overview of UAB, we have about 14,000 undergraduate students. That makes us a little bit on the larger side of a mid-sized institution. And about 30% of those students come from out of state. So we have seen a lot of growth in North Carolina and South Carolina, particularly the past few years, and just a lot of growth in our out-of-state enrollment in general. So know that if you come to UAB, even though we are a public school in Alabama, plenty of folks coming from out of state. We just celebrated our 50th anniversary, and we were ranked the #1 young university in the whole US for the past 2 years. So we're really proud of that. It really allows us to be flexible and adjusting to student demands and what students are interested in. So one thing I'll talk about today are some new majors that we've added and the way that we kind of continued to grow. And then another thing I always like to spotlight about UAB is that we have been recognized as an Insight into Diversity champion for the past 2 years. That is a major value for us on our campus, is being accepting of all kinds of people. It's something that you'll hear our students talk about as kind of a core component of their experience at UAB. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Birmingham, so I like to share these pictures just to kind of give you some insight. Birmingham is the largest city in Alabama. So you can see there in that picture to the left, it's a large city. And so if you're looking for kind of an urban campus setting, you want that experience of being in a city, but you want to stay in the Southeast, Birmingham is an excellent place. We're constantly on the top of, foodie restaurant hot list. We have an amazing food scene. There's a great live music that comes to Birmingham, great theaters. You'll see there, that's a picture of our minor league baseball team. So one of the things that is really cool about coming to UAB is that you also get to live and learn in a city that has opportunities far beyond our campus boundaries. And then one thing I'll show you here is that our campus takes up, our undergraduate campus takes up 19 city blocks. And so you kind of get this best of both worlds where you're in a campus that's pretty contained, and UAB's campus is kind of all clustered there together, but it sits right in the middle of the city. So just a couple of streets over is a city park or a restaurant, a new place to go try. So it really does give you the option of having that college experience, but also living and learning in the city. One unique thing, and you'll hear me talk a lot about health sciences today because that's a popular thing at UAB, but we also have 5 hospitals within our campus boundaries. And those include a trauma center, a children's hospital, a veterans hospital. And so if you're interested in health sciences or potentially working in healthcare, it's excellent because those hospitals are out your back door in terms of internships and shadowing experiences. You're not even having to leave campus to go do those things. One thing to look for in your college search is if there is construction going on a college campus. That is always a good sign because it means that the campus is updating. It means that it's growing and evolving. And so you will see a lot of new buildings on our campus. I want to highlight a few that have just opened. And I will say we have reopened for in-person instruction this fall. We do still have some hybrid classes going on with some online learning. But UAB has been really involved in research around COVID. Our school president is a medical doctor, and so our approach to COVID has been very careful, and we have been able to safely reopen, which has been really exciting to have students back on campus. So with that, this is our newest classroom building, University Hall. It just reopened, or just opened for, for the first time this fall. And this holds our College of Arts and Sciences, which I'll talk about. We do have a freshman live-on requirement. So freshmen are required to live on campus their first year. And this is our newest freshman residence hall. So this is called Green Hall. Of course, there are other residence halls, but this is kind of our newest and shiniest. And then coming up next year, we'll be opening a new science and engineering complex. So our STEM programs and engineering programs are very strong, and we're really excited to have a new space for those students. When you're thinking about what you want to major in, and sometimes that's very clear and you know exactly what you want to do, and sometimes maybe you're still figuring that out. We have this great website at UAB, uab.edu/degrees, where you can type in what your interest is and then see if we have a degree program that's associated with that. Between our undergraduate and graduate programs, we have over 250 programs, minors, majors, certificates. There's a lot of options for you. There are close to 60 undergraduate majors. So I would really encourage you to go check out this website and look and see if there's something specific that you're interested in. I'm definitely going to hit some highlights today of some programs that I want to share with you, but certainly won't be able to cover them all. So I would really encourage you to look at this just to find out if we have what you're hoping to major in. We have 7 colleges and schools at UAB, and so those are listed here, and I'm going to hit on each of these and just kind of what they offer. You'll see there that health professions, nursing, public health, School of Arts and Sciences also has some of our healthcare programs. So that's something you'll see in general, but we certainly have plenty of programs outside of that. And these are our 4 newest majors that we're really excited to offer. The first one is cancer biology, which we are the only university to offer this as an undergraduate major in the country. So this is a combination of cell biology as well as chemistry. It is one of our joint school of medicine programs, as well as bioinformatics is also one of those. So bioinformatics is really looking at all the natural science disciplines and how those interact with statistics, computer science, mathematics, so that we can solve medical issues, science issues with large sets of data. Engineering design is in our engineering school, which really allows you to kind of carve out your own interest within the engineering program. We certainly have like mechanical or biomedical, but if you are interested in really kind of trying to forge an engineering degree that combines some of those features and some of those disciplines, that's a great option for you. And then lastly, in our business school, we just started an entrepreneurship major, which is if you're interested in owning your own business someday, starting your own business, our entrepreneurship program is an excellent pathway for those students. There is something in Birmingham called the Innovation Depot, which is the largest incubator for small businesses in the whole South. So there's a lot of interaction between that entrepreneurship major and Innovation Depot, even to where those students are being able to work one-on-one in a consultation relationship with those new small business owners. So some really cool new programs that we have added this year. The other thing I want to highlight that's kind of special is our MSAP, or Early Medical School Acceptance Program, and our Joint School of Medicine programs. So MSAP is a program that would allow you to apply to medical, dental, and optometry school during your senior year of high school. So the way that this works is you apply to UAB first, and you have to be accepted into the university, and then you have to complete the MSAP application by December 1st. It is a highly competitive program, so you have to have this year at least a minimum of a 28 ACT and a 3.5 GPA to apply. And then once you complete that application, there's a selection and interview process. And if you're selected, then that means there is a spot held for you in either the medical, dental, or optometry, depending on what you select, in those programs when you graduate from UAB. So it does not shorten the amount of time that you would go to school. It would still be 4 years undergrad and 4 years in that doctoral program, but it would be a program that you would know I have a spot in. In addition to that, kind of our connection to the medical school, we have these joint school of medicine program and majors. So these 6 majors that are listed all are partially taught by our School of Medicine faculty and our undergraduate faculty. So neuroscience has been around the longest and is probably the most popular of those. But then you'll also see bioinformatics and cancer biology that I talked about, as well as immunology, genetics, and genomic sciences. And then biomedical engineering. So really cool way of getting a lot of exposure to medical school faculty, and many of those programs are going to require research as well, and would also allow you to have the requirements that you would need to go pre-med if you're interested in that. So not all students that are in those programs are pre-med, but that is an option for you. One thing I'll note on that in talking about research is that UAB is very strong for undergraduate research. So over 50% of our students do undergraduate research. And if one thing that you'll notice that's a little different is sometimes it's really challenging to do undergraduate research as a freshman, but not at UAB. That is really encouraged. It's very accessible for freshmen. So if you know that's something you want to pursue, then UAB is going to make a place for you in any discipline to get started in research. So I know a lot of times when you hear research, you think natural sciences. But really in every single discipline that we have, every single major, there's opportunities for research. College of Arts and Sciences is our largest college. There's 31 majors as a part of that. It houses those programs I was just speaking about, but it also has our performing and studio arts. UAB has an excellent musical theater program. We had a finalist for Hamilton last year that graduated from that program. That's a performance audition-based program to apply. Social and behavioral sciences, so sociology, psychology. We have a digital forensics major, anthropology. So if you're interested in something that would be in the College of Arts and Sciences, you can find all of those listed on that degree website. We also have a School of Health Professions. So sometimes when you're thinking, hey, I'm really interested in medicine or healthcare, but I don't necessarily want to be a doctor or a nurse. There's plenty of options for you outside of that, and some of those are housed with our School of Health Professions. There's 2 majors here, biomedical sciences, which is really going to be similar to like a biology major, but it's going to be very applied in a healthcare setting. So all that you're learning is really about human body and medical application, versus a biology major is going to be looking at biology more broadly and is going to be a bit more of a lab science. Healthcare management is a great option if you want to be involved in healthcare, but you don't want to do the kind of clinical patient doctor relationship. So that could be hospital administration or healthcare informatics. There's a lot of options in that. And obviously we're seeing now healthcare is such a huge industry. So if you're interested in that, that's something I would poke around on our website and look at the School of Health Professions. There's also some graduate programs that you can apply to for early acceptance so that you're working on your graduate degree as well as you're completing your undergraduate degree at the same time, which is a great way to save money and to shave some time off of what is going to be required. Our School of Nursing is also excellent. It's ranked 15th in the nation. And 2 years ago, we just opened a new building for our nursing students that has a clinical simulation space. It is incredible. And there are really awesome simulation patients in that space that can do many, many things that a human patient could do to give students really good exposure to working with patients prior to being in an actual hospital setting. In order to be admitted to the nursing program your senior year of high school, when you apply to UAB, you would have to have a 3.2 GPA, a 25 ACT, or a 1210 SAT. If you don't meet those requirements, you can still be admitted to UAB as pre-nursing, but you would have to apply for the program after your sophomore year and after you've completed the pre-nursing requirements. Also, we have the CACRAO School of Business, so kind of pivot from healthcare. I spoke about the entrepreneurship major, but we also have accounting, which is a very popular major. There are several large accounting firms that are located in Birmingham. Human resources management, finance. So there are multiple majors that would fall under the School of Business. One of those unique majors is industrial distribution, which you can either do kind of a medical focus, which would be looking at like medical device sales, pharmaceutical sales, just medical supply distribution, or the pathway that would be more looking at kind of traditional supply chain. So when you think about an Amazon package that lands on your doorstep, how did that happen? And what are all the systems in place that make sure that the supply chain for, you know, a simple online purchase versus even supply chain to stock our grocery stores, there are people that work on that. And so that major really prepares you for that type of work. Our School of Education, this is one of my favorite facts about UAB, is that 6 out of the 9 latest Alabama State Teachers of the Year were all UAB grads. So we certainly have a strong School of Education, whether that be that you're interested in teaching elementary school, high school, middle school. There's programs for all of that. Our program also houses the kinesiology major. So if you were interested in physical therapy or potentially athletic training, then kinesiology could be a really good option for you, and that would be in our School of Ed. And then we also have our School of Engineering. We are one of only 35 undergraduate biomedical engineering majors in the country. So obviously that makes sense with our healthcare focus. And then we also have that new engineering design program I mentioned, where you can pull together kind of a wide range of different disciplines within engineering. And then if you didn't know what public health was, and you certainly do now after the past 6 months and everything that has happened with COVID and the CDC and public health in the US, this has definitely been on the top of the news list. So public health is really looking, rather than kind of one-to-one, again, a clinician and a patient relationship, is really looking at global health as a prevention response. So things even like the obesity epidemic or seat belts or disease management, really on more of a societal level than an individual. So there are many things that people do with a degree in public health that you can see there. Many people who go to med school are pre-med that want to be that are public health majors, law school, working in the Peace Corps, working globally. So there's a lot of really cool applications that our students in public health have worked on. And there's also an accelerated master's program to where you could get your master's in public health, again, working on that at the same time as you're in undergrad, and shorten the amount of time that you would have to pursue a master's. So those are all some really neat options of pursuing additional education into your undergraduate. And then I also want to speak that we do have an honors college. So if that's something you're interested in and maybe challenging yourself a little bit, this is our new honors college facility. So the honors college, if you apply to UAB and you have at least a 28 ACT and at least a 3.5, then you'll be automatically admitted to the honors college. And then you can just make the decision as to whether or not you would like to do it. If you don't meet those requirements, but you would still like to apply, then there is a separate application that you can complete to join the Honors College. Some of the benefits of the Honors College are that you can register, you have priority registration for classes. Your classes tend to be smaller. So UAB in general, our classes are pretty small. The average class size is 32 students, but our Honors College classes are between 18 and 22 students. So there's honors seminars that are offered every semester. They have a residence hall floor for the Honors College. There's just some kind of nice perks that you get in terms of being in the Honors College and really having that experience of, you know, you're in that program with 400 other students, and it creates a little bit of a smaller UAB for you. So there are a couple of ways you can do the Honors College. One is a personalized pathway where you're picking your own honors classes and kind of creating your own curriculum. And then the other are these specialized pathways that you would apply for specifically for special topics. And so if that's something you're interested in, then that would be after you're accepted to the Honors College, you would apply for those specialized pathways. I've talked a lot about academics and school and what the academic experience looks like at UAB, which is very important because that's what you're going to spend the majority of your time doing. But I also want to talk about the just vibrant student life that exists at UAB. So if you have been really involved in high school and you want to continue that over, there is something for everyone at UAB. We have over 300 student organizations. If we don't have something you're interested in, you can create your own student organization. We have Division I athletics. So our football program just came back in 2017 and is very good. So we're proud of that. We also have Greek life. And the great thing about Greek life at UAB is that if you want to be in a fraternity or sorority, that's absolutely an option, but it's certainly not something everyone does to where you would feel excluded if you didn't want to do that. So it's a really nice balance of just adding something else as another option for students. And then the other thing is just the experience of getting to be and live in Birmingham and all that that can kind of afford and the opportunities there. So I always just like to, this is an important part of your college experience, is being somewhere where you can have great social relationships and have something that you enjoy outside of the classroom. And there's absolutely plenty of that to do at UAB. So let's talk a little bit about the application process, and I've got a big update today. So in order to apply to UAB, typically our requirements are a 2.75 and then either a 20 ACT or 1020 SAT. Yesterday, we just made the announcement that we are going to go test optional for 2021. So what that means for you, if you you can either choose to submit a test score if you have one and you feel good about that and you want that to be reviewed in your application, or you can totally choose not to, and we don't have a preference. So we're fine with either. If you choose not to, then we are going to look at your GPA and the rigor of your curriculum. So what that means is that if your school, has offered more advanced classes, so potentially honors classes or dual enrollment or AP IB, and you've taken advantage of those, then that is going to reflect positively on your curriculum rigor. So have you challenged yourself? That is going to be where we look at that just in addition to your GPA. But you are welcome to still submit a test score. And that does give you just a general idea of what our fall 2019 averages were. Of course, this means we admitted students above and below these test scores and GPA, but that way you just kind of have a ballpark idea. So there's 4 kind of major steps for applying to UAB. I will say that our application is pretty simple, so it shouldn't take you a long time to complete. There's no required letters of recommendation and there's no essay. So you can either submit a UAB application on our website, uab.edu/apply, or we also accept the common application and we don't need the essay from that. The application fee is $40. We also will accept an ACT, SAT, or NACAC fee waiver. And then what we need after that to complete your application is an official copy of your transcript that needs to be sent from your high school counselor. And then optional, again, this year are your test scores. So you can send your official SAT or ACT scores. The other option for you, so let's say you haven't been able to take the SAT or ACT, but you have been able to take the PSAT or pre-ACT, you can submit those scores if you would like. Totally up to you, or you don't have to submit a score at all. So those are kind of the 4 major things that we need, with that 4th one being optional depending on what path you want to go. The important thing is that you indicate on your application that you want it to be test optional. You can't get partway into the process and decide to change your mind. If you've already submitted test scores to us, if you indicate on your application that you do not want us to review your test scores, even if they've been submitted to us, we're not going to include those in your review. So you don't need to worry about that. I want to talk about money. So paying for college is an important part of this process, and we have an awesome out-of-state scholarship program. So this is going to change. This grid is going to change a little bit if you choose not to submit a test score, because this is what we typically use in a normal year when we have test scores. So this will be adjusted. It'll be the same amounts of money, but it'll just be a little bit adjusted if you choose not to submit your test score. We'll use that curriculum rigor year factor. So if you meet these requirements, you're going to automatically receive that amount of money, which is excellent. All you have to do is apply. And if you meet those requirements, then you're going to be given that scholarship. There's no additional scholarship. You just have to, or there's no additional application, excuse me. You just have to apply by May 1st. So this is really, you know, an important thing to make sure that you're applying by May 1st. Otherwise, we are what we call rolling admissions. So when you apply to UAB and we've got your transcript and test scores, if you want to include those, then we're going to give you a decision in 8 to 10 days. So you're going to know pretty quickly. If there is no kind of official, like you have to have this submitted by December 1st and we're going to give everybody a decision. You'll get it as you apply. So that's, you know, a great thing to know, because you'll know where you fall on this pretty quickly after those scholarships are awarded. That's kind of the first level of money that you can get. On top of that, we have something called the Be Smart portal. So it just opened up, and after you're admitted to UAB, you'll complete what we call our general scholarship application. And when you do that, that's going to match you up with all the scholarships that you are eligible for specifically at UAB. So some of those are IB scholarships. So if you go to an IB school, you're automatically either going to be eligible for $1,500 if you're a degree candidate. And if you have completed the IB degree, then you'll be eligible for $2,000. Departmental, so each major is going to have different scholarships. There's special population scholarships, performance scholarships, lots and lots and lots of scholarships. And most of those you can stack on top of this first scholarship that I talked about. There are a couple, like our national merit, if you're a national merit finalist or a national Hispanic scholars, or if you receive what we call the Blazer Presidential Scholarship, which is a full tuition scholarship for out-of-state students, then you're already covered. Your full tuition's covered. Otherwise, you can add all of these scholarships on top of these. In addition to that, and let me back up. One thing I will say here is that some of these scholarships, they all have different deadlines and they all have different applications. So the best thing for you to do is, if you're going to apply to UAB and you want to try to maximize the amount of scholarships you can get, I would apply and be ready to apply for these scholarships by February 1st, because some of those deadlines start to be February 1st, and I don't want you to miss out on anything. The third way that you can get money from UAB is financial aid, and you do this by completing the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA. You may have been hearing about this already. Once you complete that, and you'll do that, that's a federal form. So that form will tell UAB how much money you're eligible for in grants, loans, and work study. The FAFSA doesn't have anything to do with like your grades or anything like that. It's really looking more at what your financial ability to pay for college is, your family and your ability to do that. And so that'll tell us how much federal aid you're eligible for, and then we'll award that as a part of your financial aid package. One cool thing is that UAB is a pilot school for an off-campus work study program. So most of the time, all work study positions are on campus, but we're now being able to offer some of those work study positions with off-campus partners, which is really cool. And then I'll say, you know, one of the silver linings of COVID is that we have a lot of virtual visit opportunities. So I know that for many of you, maybe a trip down to Birmingham is a long trip. We did just reopen for in-person tours. So you can go to uab.edu/visit if you want to look at those and potentially coming down to campus. But we also have a lot of virtual visit opportunities on there. So there are information sessions every week covering a lot of topics. So that is general admission sessions, financial aid. There's sessions with each school and college with specific programs. So you can get a lot more information through those. We also have some new 360 videos that'll show you around our campus and in some of our buildings. So that's a really good way of seeing campus without being there. And there's just a ton of videos and other options like that. So this website, if you want to write that down, is really good for getting more information. There's also a couple of things I want to highlight. We are going to have what we call our UAB Day on Saturday, October 31st. This is our preview day. It's going to be a virtual event. Students will be there. We'll have a lot of different speakers and ways to engage with our staff. And these dates are publicized all over our website, so you can sign up there. 10 a.m. We're in Central Time for Birmingham, so if you're in South Carolina or North Carolina, make sure you change that to Eastern Time. But then also our UAB out-of-state night, which will be great ways to connect with other out-of-state students at UAB, is going to be November 19th at 7:30 p.m. So you can find all of this again at that website. You can sign up for that well ahead of time and get reminders. But it's a really good way of getting more information. And I always think it's super important to hear from students because they're the people who are really living and having that UAB experience every day. So these are some really good ways of connecting with them. Another way I'll say is that our student tour guides are called Trailblazers, and they have their own Instagram, UAB Trailblazers. They also have an email address, trailblazers@uab.edu. So if you want to connect with a student, that's a good way of doing that. And then there's all of our social media handles. So I love this because it's a way of just seeing kind of day-to-day campus and what's going on and staying plugged in. So would love for you to follow us. And then lastly, I just want to put my contact information up. I am so happy to talk with you anytime. In fact, I would love that. It's great to connect with students and hear what you're interested in and what kind of questions you have. So that's my email, that's my cell phone. So you're welcome to call or text me at that number if you have questions. And then lastly, that link, calendly.com/UABCasey, that will take you straight to my calendar. So if you want to set up a one-on-one meeting, I can also always invite a student to that. Or if you want to specifically talk about financial aid or scholarships, anything like that, there's a lot of different options once you get to the calendar to set up a meeting with me, which will make it very easy for you to kind of have any follow-up questions. So I know I've talked to a lot of you guys. I would love if you have any questions for me to put those below in the Q&A. Definitely wanted to make sure we leave enough time for any questions. I know one question that I get a lot, so I'll just go ahead and address that too, is, when you apply to UAB, do you have to apply to a specific major? So when you apply, you're going to indicate what major you're interested in. You can be admitted to the university regardless of what the major requirements are, but some of our majors do have higher requirements than just our admissions requirements. So for example, the neuroscience program. So if you want to be a neuroscience major, you apply to UAB and indicate that. You have to have at least a 28 on the ACT and at least a 3.5 to be admitted into that major as a high school senior. If you do not meet those requirements, you can still be admitted to UAB if you meet our admissions requirements, but you'll be indicated as pre-neuroscience. And so what that means is that you'll come to UAB and then you can begin taking the classes that would prepare you for a neuroscience major, but you're still going to have to apply for that major after you're a student at UAB. So it's not required that we're only going to admit you into one major, but there are a little bit of guidelines around that. And I guess just on that point, I've talked about us being test optional. That's for admission and scholarships. Some of these advanced programs that I'm talking about, or like the MSAT program, for example, or nursing, to be accepted into the nursing program, those are going to still require test scores. So just depending on if you're interested in a specific major or a specific program, just let me know that. Let's get in touch, and then I can let you know whether or not we're going to need a test score specifically for that. But you can go ahead and be admitted to the university without a test score. Any other questions? I know you guys got to have something. One thing that I can definitely do that might be helpful for you guys is just to show you our website, so that if you are looking to kind of follow up on any of the pieces that we've talked about, and where to go and where to find stuff. So if you go to our website, one great thing you can do is to request more info here, and that gets you into our system and make sure that you're getting emails and things like that. So that's a really great way. And then what I talked about in terms of visiting, you'll see here that when you click on visit, there will be lots of different options here. So on-campus visit, virtual visit. If you are going to do an on-campus visit, there's some additional information there. And this is where you can sign up for those preview days, the UAB nights, any information sessions, and then the virtual campus tour as well will take you to multiple videos that you can watch. These guided 360 tours are really great. If and I'll just go ahead and show you this one for giving you a peek of campus. So this is our campus green, which is really like at the heart of our campus, and everything really surrounds that. So this will give you a 360, which is great for students like you who, UAB is not in their backyard. So this kind of can show you just a glimpse as to what campus looks like, make you a little bit feel like you're there in a time where travel is pretty hard for most of us. So those might be really helpful for you to just take a peek at, and see a little bit more. There's lots and lots and lots on this website for you to look at. And there are many students that are kind of giving their perspective on their UAB experience. And then too, just, some of the scholarships that I talked about. So if you want to click on out-of-state scholarships, this will show you that chart that you can go back to, and give you some breakdown of what our other types of scholarships are. There's also an estimated cost sheet, so you can kind of plug in and see what the tuition and fees are. I'll go ahead and show you guys that for out-of-state freshmen, tuition at UAB is $25,500. And then you'll see these total direct costs and total indirect. So when we talk about direct costs, that is really looking at what are going to be kind of the things that you're billed from the university. Whereas indirect costs is just an estimate of like what transportation would cost for you to get down there and back and forth for a year, or miscellaneous expenses. But this is really what you're responsible for in terms of what you would have to pay to the university. And some of those are an estimate, like books and supplies, but that'll give you a good breakdown. So the really great thing about this is if you are a pretty high achieving student, then if you look at these out-of-state scholarships, you really can get a lot of money, and then stack those other scholarships on top of it. Still no questions from you guys. What else can I talk to you about that you would be maybe interested in learning about UAB, or if there's specific information you'd like about a certain major or degree program? Sure, yeah, you're interested in majoring in history, but it wasn't really mentioned. Yeah, for sure. Let me show you really quickly. This is that degree website that I was talking about. And history would be a part of our College of Arts and Sciences. So there's this, when you type in history, the great part about this website is it'll kind of pull up anything that's related to that. So we definitely have just a full-on history major. It's a Bachelor of Arts degree. We also have an African American Studies Bachelor of Arts, which is really very centered around history. I mean, it's a significant part of it. There's also some interdisciplinary aspects there, political science, as you can see, even like the legal humanitarian aspect of it, but that is heavily related to history. And then there's also political science as a degree that has some overlap. So if you go to the site and you kind of want to play around a little bit, you can click onto the history BA and it'll show you exactly what the classes are that you have to take. and this course catalog, curriculum, and requirements. So that way you can see all the types of classes that are offered. And just one thing to note that's pretty cool is that Birmingham has a lot of museums. And so, and just in general is a city full of history. So that is a really great place. I was a history major in college, so I'm really into that stuff too. But that's something where if you really want to go and look at kind of what exactly does the history major look like at UAB, there's some really cool stuff on here as to what those classes are. Is there a marching band? Yes, there is. So I think maybe I showed one of those, but they're a major part of our football program. We haven't lost a home game since 2017 for our football program. So they're pretty heavily attended in normal non-COVID times. And yes, our marching band is a major part of creating that environment. So again, you can kind of go here. There's some special scholarships for students that are in marching band as well. And the audition information, all of that information you can find at this uab.edu/cas/UAB bands. And I'll pop that in the answer to you so you can see it. Any other questions from you guys? Do we also offer music scholarships even if I don't major in music? Yeah, there are some scholarships that are available for, like I'm talking about with band or ensemble. So some performance-based scholarships if you're involved in an organization or a group that's involved that is centered around music. And then of course there are music major scholarships. But yes, that Be Smart portal that I mentioned is going to have all of those listed. So when you fill out the general scholarship application, that'll help match you up with other things that you would be, what you indicate that you could be eligible for. And there are truly hundreds and hundreds of scholarships on there. So I don't even know every scholarship that's in that portal, but I know that there definitely are some for students who are involved in music groups. An essay is not required when applying. So that's what I was saying in terms of that application just being very simple. And I can pull that slide back up just to, so you'll have the info, but there's really just those simple steps. Submitting our application, which is, you can also do on the Common App. And I know the Common App has an essay, but that's not required for us. So, and we don't have if you use our own application, there's no essay on that. And then we just need your high school transcripts for you to pay the application fee. And then the choice is yours, whether you submit your test scores or not, but no essays. If you apply to things like, let's say you end up you want to apply to the Honors College and you weren't initially admitted to that, or some of these special scholarships or like the MSAT program, for example, those types of programs and scholarships are going to often require writing. They're all going to have different requirements, but just to be admitted to UAB, no, we do not have an essay. These are great questions. Anything else? Well, I know we're kind of coming up on the end of our time. If you have any other questions, feel free to pop them in there, but I'll just kind of leave this up just in case you guys want to jot that down or screenshot it if you're on your phone. Please be in touch. I would love to follow up with you guys if there's anything I can do, and hope that you'll spend some time looking at some other resources that we have and just getting acquainted with UAB. It's a really special place, and there's a lot of opportunity there for you regardless of what you're interested in. So thanks so much for spending some time with me this afternoon. We're almost to evening. And if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know.
All righty. Thank you so much for joining us. When you close out this window, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback that you can provide for us. Also, this was just one of many sessions being hosted, so be sure to sign up for additional information sessions at CACRAO.org. That's CACRAO.org. In about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all the other session recordings at that same website, cacrao.org. Thank you again for joining us and enjoy the rest of your day.